Moon Shadow, Moon Shadow. That's right. Moon Shadow, Moon Shadow. Cat Stevens, Moon Shadow. How you doing out there in video land? Hello out there in radio land. What's going on today on this beautiful Thursday that, hey, it could hit 80 degrees today. What about that? You got to love this weather. We're getting some good stuff. We're getting some good stuff. We know it's coming, but we're getting the good stuff for now. So welcome to Your City, Your Voice. My name is Paul K. Lemire, of course, and I'm coming to you from the studios of 4680Q Radio in downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, in case you're wondering. I don't know if anybody's wondering, but that's where we broadcast from. Downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Beautiful downtown, right across from the Meteor Crater on Chrysler Avenue. There you go. Now you got my location, my 10-4 here, and you're good to go. If that's what it's called, 10-4, 10-8, I don't know what it is, 10 something, 10-12. But we're looking at Straight Talk Thursday today. That's it. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. We're talking about city council meeting on Tuesday. We're going to take a look at some parts of that. We're going to take a look at the election, the election debate down south, and a couple other interesting things that happen in the world, in the area, in the region, in the city, in the province, in the country, for that matter. Right? We go all over the place. It doesn't matter. I just give you the news, and then I give you my opinion on it. Agree with me, disagree with me. That's up to you. But if you don't agree, in the comments on the YouTube video, because this will go on YouTube later on, tell me what you think. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. Doesn't matter. It's more about interaction, getting people involved. We're not that far from our own election, and we have to make sure that we got everything going right, and everybody gets out and votes, so we have a chance at a good governance. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's all about. Anyway, let's get to my sponsors. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Hamilton Glowstone Lighting, and Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue in Niagara Falls. So we're talking about Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, a major sponsor of Cruise in the Queue, and that the Super Cruise was on Tuesday. A fantastic event, well attended. And it was the end of the season for cruising on Thursday nights in our beautiful downtown here. Now, if you have a problem with your car, we're getting to that time of year. You need your oil change. You got to get your brakes checked for the winter. Everything's got to be done. And when we get into the bad weather, that's when everybody starts running in to get all this stuff checked. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to have to wait and everything else. The best thing to do is get in there now, have all your systems checked out. Get Ken Hunter, the owner, to put your car on a diagnostic piece of equipment that'll tell them everything going on with your car. And then if there's anything wrong, they can fix it. They can change your oil, look at your brakes, check your fluids, make sure everything's working for the winter, your heater core, everything. Make sure everything's working, because if you don't, you know what's going to happen? You're going to end up getting in trouble, and you're going to sit on the side of the road, and it's going to be a crappy October, rainy, chilly day, and you're going to be going, why didn't I listen to Paul and get this thing checked out? That's right. You've been smart to do that. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, they also have a full body shop, so if you get in a wreck or a minor fender bender, get in there, get your car fixed, make sure it looks nice, and comes out of there in showroom condition. Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Just give Ken a call today, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's look at the city council meeting of Tuesday, September 10th for a minute here. Well, it's going to be more than a minute, to be honest. You know me, once I get into that, it could be a half hour. But either way, I'm going to tell you what's going on. First of all, big news. Big news at this meeting. Wayne Thompson has stepped down. He's resigned. He's out. Dabrowski is in. Of course, the person who came ninth, Chris Dabrowski, gets the next shot at it, and he said he is willing to accept the position. And he will be sitting in, well, we don't know where he's going to be sitting in the whole, he's going to be a counselor, but now we see the big shuffle here. and I'll talk about that in a second. But it's too bad about Wayne having to step down, but he was way past his expiry date. Unfortunately, I'm happy to see him go, and I'm not happy to see him go because I didn't like him. I'm happy to see him go because he didn't deserve to be showcased like he was for the last couple of years here. He hasn't been in really good shape. He's had a hard time conversing, even though he probably knows what he's talking about. And it's just been really terrible. He said he didn't have a license anymore. It was very hard to get back and forth to the meetings. You know, Wayne, you provided 58 years of service or some 53 years of service, 55 years of service, whatever. And even the great ones hang him up. Gretzky hung him up. Mickey Mantle hung him up. They all hang him up. There comes a time when you got to hang him up. And your time was past due. You toughed it out, but you just couldn't do the job anymore. And it's good that you stepped down. Now you can relax, take it easy. You don't have to deal with everything and live the rest of your life out in peace. Now, personally, I like Little Caesar, the boss, almost gangster like. Wayne did so much for Niagara Falls, and like I said before, I cannot remember when there wasn't a guy named Wayne Thompson on City Council. He's been there since 1968, and since I've been interested in politics in the city, I remember Wayne Thompson being there as a councilor, as a mayor, 2 terms of mayor, 2 different terms. And he was there when you called him. I contacted Wayne many times for different things and interacted with Wayne many times, and he was always there. I mean, he would return your calls. He would get out to see what you're talking about. He would look into it for you and do what he could for you. And he would get back to you on it. So I don't know if that was just me. I doubt it. I'm a nobody, but he certainly did take care of me when I had problems and tried to help me out the best he could. I mean, like any other person who's been in politics for a long time, whether it's him or Joe Biden, there was some questionable antics, especially the Marineland Well and Securities fiasco that forced him to step down for a time. And another really good one I remember. I mean, Wayne, like Mayor Jim Diodati said it, he could write a book, and he really could. He had a lot of different things going on in the city of Niagara Falls, a lot of stories to tell. The one I remember was, of course, the Marineland fiasco, but the other one was when he got in the big battle with John Grasscamp, who was a counselor back in the day. And John was a little bit of a loose cannon type of guy, the Eggman, they called him. And he got in a rumble with Wayne Thompson, like an actual fight with Wayne Thompson in some alley down on Queen Street. And he claimed that Wayne Thompson bit him on the thumb. So he's in the paper with his thumb like this, with this big Band-Aid all wrapped around it, John Grasscamp, and Wayne Thompson bit me on the thumb. And oh, man, it was like crazy. City council used to be a lot of fun. It really did, the antics going on. But yeah, there's always a contention between them two, and Norm Puttick and Wayne Thompson always had something going on. I mean, those two guys were at each other all the time. But a lot of good memories of Wayne and his 54 years or 55 years in playing some role on city council. Fond memories of it. Now, Mayor Jim said that he bled Niagara Falls, and I'm going, he bled him. What? He bled him dry? What did he do? What do you mean bled Niagara Falls? I get what he said though, but it was a funny way of saying it. Because because there's always these insinuations or rumors around Thompson. The secret envelopes, the quid pro quo arrangements with different people. None of them ever substantiated, by the way, but still whirling around like the tourist helicopters in the city. And I used to get a kick out of that. This underhanded stuff that was going on that I don't know, was never substantiated. It was just rumors going around. And there's rumors like that, of course, with the current city council. That's just the way it is. People in high positions who are working with other people who have money always are on the take. You know that, right? That's what people think, but it's not. It's for the most part, it's not true. I'm sure there are some. Wayne pushed for a casino. Now we have two casinos in the city. Wayne saw the value of the casino and what it would bring to the city. Now he was right. Niagara Falls was really dying in the late '80s. We were struggling in Niagara Falls with tourism and the economy and everything else. But the yays prevailed when it was voted on this casino, and it got done. But remember, there was over 10,000 residents in Niagara Falls who voted against it, that didn't want the casino. And I remember it struck me as funny because in that election where that referendum was on, I ran for city council then, and there's a gentleman named Ed Sherrar, a real nice guy, Ed, and he was anti-casino. He was the guy who was the woke guy with the prostitution, drugs, gambling, and all the bad stuff that they thought was going to come with a casino that was already in Niagara Falls, by the way. Yeah, I don't know where Ed hung around, but he certainly didn't hang around the whole city because if he would have known about all this stuff already existing here and like it wasn't going to get any worse because it was already here. So basically, I remember that, and Wayne got the casinos here. He really pushed hard for the casinos, and they opened in 1996, and we've never looked back as a city. Um, he really, really dropped an injection into our tourist industry, into our city with these builds. And the first one opened in 1996, like I said. Now Wayne was on every committee there was in the falls. I know I won't even name them all because there's so many he was on. He was all in on Niagara Falls, and I think that's what Mayor Jim meant. He was all in on Niagara Falls. If anything, he bled Niagara Falls blood. I don't know what the city colors are. What colors are the city? Like we bleed Habs red. Yeah, so good for him. Great guy. Did a lot for the city. And I wish him the best and send all the best I can muster for the guy. I mean, good for him. Retire, relax now. You've already done your service to the city. You're going to be honored with it. Believe me. He was a major part of my following politics when I was growing up. I knew his father, Stan, and his brother from my days working at Gullian's downtown. They used to come in. They were customers there. All very, very nice people. His father was a fire chief. Yeah. So that's all I have to say to Wayne Thompson. Enjoy retirement, Wayne. You deserve it. I'm sure the city will celebrate your contributions in a big way in the not too distant future. You deserve to relax for the rest of the time you have here on Earth. You did your city service for so many years and a great job doing it. Took on a lot of the responsibilities, and now it's time to relax. So good for you. Good for you. And congratulations to Chris Dabrowski coming up. I mean, he's the new guy coming in. He said he was going to be happy. So really, it's Back to the Future with Chris Dabrowski. And that's a funny line because he runs the Comic Cons, and Back to the Future guys are always there, Christopher Lloyd and that. So it's Back to the Future with McFly stepping in to take Thompson's place. You're not going to see a lot of changes on city council, even though we now have four new, new members. I mean, you want to. He had 2 years off, but he's back, so he's not really new. But we'll see if he what his demeanor is when he gets back. He's a very busy guy. I was surprised that Chris would even come back because he's so busy with Comic Cons and everything else, his business, everything else he runs. He's a busy guy, Chris. He's all over the place. So I didn't think he would come back. I thought maybe he would pass on it and then we'd see Vince Cario maybe come back. But I know Vince has said he don't want it neither. So then we would have to have a nomination process or let the counselors pick somebody or whatever if they didn't want it. Yeah, maybe they would have called me. No, I don't think so. Just a recycled counselor, really, though, Chris is. So it's going to be more of the same. He was a member of the OBC, the Old Boys Club. He really did back everything most of those guys did. I didn't see him in his 4 years really veer too much off the path of the OBC. And you know, here's what I'm wondering now. Congratulations that he's back, Chris. Way to go. Chris is a good guy. I talked to Chris. I like Chris. I mean, he's a good guy. He does his own gig there and that kind of thing. But I just wonder if the arrogant one, Counselor Patel, will move into Wayne Thompson's chair right next to the big show. They're usually joined at the hip at photo ops, so a move to the right for her would not be out of the realm of possibility. I mean, she already thinks she's mayor the way she stands up and talks. And and at some and since I'm sorry to say this, but at some point she may be mayor. She may be your mayor one day. Dear sir, you knew I was a snake. On to city council. We'll see where the pecking order ends up here with Chris being gone for a couple of years and the new people in their chairs. And the only one left is Thompson's chair. And if that's where Chris is going to go, or Patel will automatically just make the move. It's going to be interesting. On the next council meeting, I can't wait to see it. I think the odds are like, something like a even money that she'll move to the right and get right next to the mayor there. One part of the city council I really had an interest in was Ms. Giacometti's address to council. She's having the same problem that I'm having and a lot of other people are having in this city, and that's people who have trees encroaching on their property. And it is a real pain in the butt. I mean, I've had to spend a few $100s to get gutter guards on my house because this tree is a soft maple and it spews a lot of junk in the spring. Those whirly gigs, they clog up your eaves trough, overflow your eaves troughs. It's a real pain. So I had to spend a few $100s and get gutter guards put on. And the tree is like way overhanging my property, but nobody's going to cut it. And I'm not spending $1,000 to have, or a couple $1,000 to have somebody come in and trim it. It's not my tree. So it's a problem that a lot of people have with these dirty trees and fruit trees that are dropping junk in their yard and that kind of thing, right? There's not much you can do about it, really. If they don't trim it and you don't want to trim it, then, I mean, you're allowed to trim parts that are hanging over your property. But then they got into a discussion about if I trim the branches and that tree dies, who's responsible? Well, they said, well, you are. It's not your tree to trim, even though it's encroaching on your property. So there's a pretty big discussion about that. And this tree next to me is so decrepit. I mean, one time I was cutting the lawn and I got about 2 feet, 3 feet past the tree, and this big branch fell out of it because it's all dying. And the branches just crack in the wind. They're always dropping out of the tree. It was a pretty big branch, and it fell right behind me. If that thing would have conked me on the head, that would have hurt. That would have hurt. So I get what she was saying, and I think a lot of people could identify with her address to council on Tuesday night. But the good thing is the solicitor stood up and kind of gave the rules. And the rules were pretty neat. If the tree is on city property, then it's city property's responsibility to deal with it. And guess where this tree is? It's on city property. So, Lori Lococo, I'm going to be giving you a message here, seeing if maybe we can get somebody from the city down to look at this tree, ascertain whether it is on city property, and maybe get all these branches cut back so they're not conking me on the head and the dead ones are taken out and that, because it's becoming a safety issue too. But interesting address by Mrs. Giacometti, and it's a concern that a lot of people have, I know. Oh man, I was a little surprised there was a developer on there. I was a little surprised by the developer who was developing that 4th Avenue old ball hockey rink housing project there. I was really surprised that he got up there and said that they found that there was no contamination from the cyanamide on that property. Now, man, oh man, I think they should talk to Gary Wilkins and Mike Cushman. I mean, they would never, ever agree with that statement. They've been on the show many times and talked about this, and Gary worked at the cyanamide, so he knew where they were throwing stuff. And even if they didn't bury stuff there or anything, the leaching from that property plus the fallout from that property would make it contaminated for sure. And I think this has to be watched closely by council before anything is built on that land, especially family residences. So that was an interesting statement by him. I don't quite understand where he got that from or how he figured that one out. They must have done tests on the land, but I mean, I think they should do maybe some core samples or something a little bit more intensive. And I'm going to talk to Mike and Gary about that one, and we'll get the lowdown on exactly what is under that ball hockey rink, and how where it stands in this contaminated land zone. I got to give credit to one guy, Mike Strange, and I think he maybe he listens to my show. I don't know if he does or not. But he stood up and addressed council regarding the meeting lengths and gave solid ways to shorten the meetings. Now, I uh, I have been talking about this for a long time, that these meetings are ridiculous. The counselors are not at their best by 8 or 9 at night after sitting there for 4 hours, and they're making decisions with our money, like a big budget, $170 million worth, making decisions on our behalf, and they're not at their best. After sitting there for 4 hours, if anybody's watched it, it's really, you really get bored, and you lose track and lose interest in it, and even the counselors do. And when we get to 8 hours and 9 hour meetings, it's totally ridiculous, uncalled for, not necessary, and Mike started talking about the different ways to shorten the meetings, all ways that I've been talking about for the last at least year, maybe more. And it all made sense. He gets it, even though the mayor don't. He still needs a little more coaching, though, Mike. Um, but he did take on the grandstanding, which is one of the biggest time wasters, and we saw that in the same meeting with Counselor Only Eight, up there talking, jabbering about stuff that had nothing to do with anything, and just wasting time, basically. And of course, always the nonsense of Counselor NP having to get up and get her mug in the camera for no reason. Um, just getting up to talk. You know, like, if you support something, you don't have to get up and tell everybody you support it. Put up your hand. That tells everybody you support it. You don't have to get up and give a speech about supporting it. I think this is a good project. I really support this project. No, put up your hand. That shows you support it. Unless you have something to add, you're wasting time. And Mike wants to limit counselors as well as the audience. So there's a 5 minute limit on people who get up and talk. And Mike wants to limit the counselors too, which I think is a great idea. Now, most counselors use their time for pertinent questions. In other words, if there's a planning matter and there's some issues that you see that you need verification on, the first thing we hope they do is go to the staff, go right to staff before the meeting, so they know why this is this. And if for some reason they can't get the staff, or for some reason they don't get an answer by meeting time and want to stand up and ask that question, that's fine. That's what they're there for, to make sure that all these planning matters and all these builds and everything going on in the city is done according to Hoyle and in the best interest of us, the taxpayers. So but there are several time wasters. I mean, there's several big time wasters. Those are the ones that have to be throttled, and a time limit would do that. Obviously, on more complicated matters, more time may be needed, and rightly so. I mean, you don't want to cut people off. You want them to get their ideas out there and ask the pertinent questions. So if they're prepared counselors, they know what they're talking about, and they're prepared, and don't ask questions that are in the agenda that if they read, they'd know. Then, of course, everything's going to go a lot smoother. And that's preparation and knowing the agenda. Ad hoc questions will be limited if you know what you're talking about and you've gone through the agenda, and diatribes beyond 5 minutes will not be needed. And if they are, they'll be less frequent. So let's review how to shorten meetings. Here's what I say to shorten meetings. Number one, get rid of awards during the meetings. Move them to appropriate times and places. All these awards for these sports teams and all that, they don't have to be in a city council meeting. City council meeting is a business meeting. They can be done at a separate time in city council chambers if you like, and you can tape it and put it on Facebook, or you can have them like once a month and do the whole month of awards for people doing great things. Like last Friday night, there was awards to people who had saved some people on the Welland River on last Tuesday night's meeting, and that's fantastic. Congratulations to them. Proud of them for stepping up and doing the right thing when somebody was in trouble. But that doesn't have to be at a city council meeting. Number two, place a limit on residents and council as well. Just like Mike said, we got to throttle back these. They're not rants. They're just ramblings. They're just ramblings. Like that's it. I think when necessary, the mayor has got to figure out that we need two separate meetings for planning issues where there's controversy or complicated items anticipated. I mean, you can tell just by looking at the item if there's going to be controversy and if it's going to be a long hour maybe or more for this planning matter. And it's not hard to figure out. You do not have to be a genius on this one. Look at the people who are submitting letters. Look at the citizens who are concerned. Now, if you've got to go through all these people, all these citizens, you got to go through the planner, you got to go through the city planner. You're going to get experts in there commenting on things. You're going to have counselors asking a lot of questions because when there's a lot of people submitting questions and attending public meetings, darn well, they're asking the city councilor of their choice these same questions, and those city councilors will want to get up and comment on it. And that's when you're going to get more than a 5 minute, 5 minute, more than the minutes they need. So that point in time, you got to separate the planning matters if there's three or four, and move them to another meeting just for planning, and then your regular city hall meeting. So you got to be able to judge that, and the mayor has the authority; he can do this. You got to be able to work with that and hold in camera meetings outside of a planned council meeting. That's another one of the things that I look for. I'm going like these in camera meetings take hours, an hour, 2 hours sometimes. Like have them at some other point in time. You know what the contentious issues are. You know what you're going to be talking about in the Tuesday meeting. Why not Monday have a meeting in camera just to decide about that? And I think Lori said there's got to be somebody taping it or something like that. And that's fine. That's fine. Call that guy in, get him in there to do it, and that's that. Get somebody to do it, and that's that, right? And also, I mean, you are going to have problems in a meeting. There's going to be something that comes in a meeting, especially with planning, where a certain item on the agenda has to be talked about in private, but it doesn't come up until counselors get up and start asking questions or they want information that cannot be disclosed in the public for various reasons. So that's when you're going to have an in-camera meeting, like an ad hoc in-camera meeting. It's going to be necessary right away, and they can do it right there, real short, because that's all they're dealing with in back. That's going to happen once in a while, and that's fine. So they're the things that I think can shorten council meetings, and if they go to that, then I think that we're going to be in pretty good shape as far as the meeting length goes. If we start at 4, we should be done by 9. I know they have a 10 o'clock curfew and they got to vote to extend it, but I mean, I think it can be done in 5 hours if a lot of these matters are handled outside of the actual business meeting, which is the city council meeting. And that's all I have to say about that. Over to my second sponsor, Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. If you're going to be putting up Christmas lights or Halloween lights or anything, you don't want to be climbing up a ladder and falling off it and breaking your leg. So what do? You get a professional in who's an expert at putting permanent track lighting on your house. And Hamilton Glowstone Lighting is the leader in permanent lighting. Yes, they'll come in. When you call them, you'll get a quote. It's a free quote from Colin Buckbro, who owns the company. And then you can decide how you want them. They put up track lighting, and it's built in zones. So you can have different colors on your house. You can have red and green and blue and yellow if you want. Whatever colors you want, you can have. All orange for Halloween, all green for St. Patrick's Day, all controlled by your phone. Just tap it into your phone. Now, these lights are LED lights sealed from dust and moisture. Every connection is sealed. It's not you just don't plug it in like Christmas. No, these are soldered in place, sealed against dust and moisture. And they're so confident of their product, they offer a lifetime warranty on it. You can't ask for much more than that. Now, if you really want to Griswold your house, what do? They have approved financing. You can finance it if you like on approved credit. So they offer every solution. And the good thing is with these lights, they're LED. They're not going to break your hydro bank. They're very, very good on power. Very, very low usage of power, which is great in this environmentally friendly time. So it basically does it all. And all you have to do is call Chris or Colin Buckbro and get a free quote. And if you want to do it, you get her done. He'll come up and put all this track lighting up for you professionally. How do you get a hold of Colin Buckbro? Great question. You give him a call at 289-969-1797. That's it. 289-969-1797. He will come to your house and give you a free estimate. Everything will be good. Tell him Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. And now's a great time to get him there because he is going to see a Christmas rush. People want to get these lights up before Christmas so they can have their house decorated beautifully. So he's going to start getting busy in the next few weeks. Give him a call. Get a free quote. Get your house looking great for Christmas. And if you get it in time, you also have Halloween. You can be all orange. Back to city council meeting. Counselor NP has to listen to my show. That's right. Mona Patel has to listen to my show. I've said many times there's an easy fix for Lundy's Lane. They were talking about Lundy's Lane and what a terrible, terrible place it is for accidents and how dangerous it is. And she's right. Counselor NP is right. It is a very dangerous place to drive. I don't go on it if I don't have to. It's so bad. And they put the speed cameras there. They're not helping. It's a nightmare. Every day you see about an accident there, somebody getting hit by a car, whatever. And there's a real easy solution to it. I mean, there's no room for expansion on any side of Lundy's Lane, right? So if these guys are searching for a fix, here it is. I'm going to give it to them free of charge. You don't have to hire a $500,000 consultants to tell you this. You can't expand. The businesses are on the sidewalks, basically. There's no room to expand it. So what do? Here's what you do, nice and easy. You have to get rid of left-hand turns on Lundy's Lane. How do you get rid of left-hand turns? You put a median down the middle. That's right. Right down the middle, a median. And you cannot make a left over the median, of course, right? So you cannot make left-hand turns in to a business or out of a business. That's it. Most of the accidents are caused by left-hand turns. I mean, people go there and they put their left blinker on, then people stop behind them, and then they try to go around everybody, and then guys coming in the right-hand lane kablowy, or getting through traffic lights, late with a left-hand turn, or just people distracted driving, to a lot of distracted driving. But left-hand turns is a big thing, and you can solve them easy with a median right down. Now, how do you get people back around to businesses that are on the other side of the road that they would normally make a left into? You have U-turn lanes. That's it, U-turn lanes. So, for example, if you go to Glenholm, there's a traffic light going into No Frills. That would be a U-turn lane. You put a U-turn lane in there, a left-hand turn or a U-turn lane, and that light comes on by itself, and it allows people to make lefts and make U-turns. That's how simple it is. Then they go back down. They're coming east on Lundy's Lane. They want to go into Harvey's. You go to the next light, you make a U-turn, and you come back and go in. Nice and safe. That's the way you do it. And you have lights that actually control U-turns and that kind of thing. That's how big cities do it. And that's how it should be done. And you're going to solve a lot of the problems on Lundy's Lane when people are jamming on their brakes because they don't know where business is, and they make this fast turn that nobody's expecting, and then you get a pile up, and you have all kinds of problems with that left turn. So that's the easy way to do it. It's probably the cheapest way to do it too, because you can't rebuild Lundy's Lane. You can't widen it. There's just too many businesses right on the road. So there's no room for this kind of stuff. So that's it. And I know the region has Lundy's Lane, it's theirs, but the city can certainly solicit the region to consider this and do it. And I think that would be the easiest solution right now. And come on, let's do it. Why fool around with it? You're really worried about it. Let's do it. Let's see now. Um, that's about it for the city council meeting. I really didn't see a lot else. There's another little statement there that was pretty comical, really, and I didn't understand it. And that was when somebody's going to have to tell. I don't know who the name of the woman was, but she got up and she was talking about a downtown business association type of thing, where they had got 25 names of business who wanted to be involved, and they were putting together a plan for a committee that included all the stakeholders down here, and they had it all ready to go, and they came to council for their blessing. But of course, it was too late. Council already made a committee up, and they're going to do this committee thing they got going. And she was saying that the reason that the BIA didn't work was because anybody who owned a business down here gets a vote, and one person owns a lot of businesses and buildings, so they got more votes. Now that really skews the results of any kind of an election or something like that, right? Or vote on anything. So she was saying in her model, it's going to be very democratic. It's going to be one vote per member, not one vote for every business. So if you own three businesses, you get three votes, one vote for every member. That's it. You can only be a member once, and you get one vote for being there, which was very interesting. And they seem to have their act together, these two people. And Jim said, Mayor Jim said, we already tried democracy and it didn't work. Really? Like, what works? A dictatorship? Is that the country we're in now? But yeah, I found that a strange thing to say. We already tried democracy and it didn't work, so we're not going that route again for now. So funny stuff. I just found that a little bit funny. Other than that, the meeting went along pretty well. The planning meeting went along well. We're getting a nice new 230-story towers down at the corner of Ferry Street and Clark Street. Should be an interesting build. So yeah, some nice stuff. Some nice stuff coming up. But of course, there's always the caveat: are they going to happen? Because they never seem to happen. We've got lots of buildings going to be built. I don't see anything going up. Nothing. As a matter of fact, there's half-built buildings that should be coming down or something, like the ones on Bridge Street. So getting these planning matters in, okaying them is one thing. Actually getting them done is another. So we'll see. We'll see how city council's got a way to force the hands of these developers, because they come in with these grandiose plans and then you don't see anything. And I mean, why waste our time if they're not going to build? There's got to be something that can get them to build these projects that they're talking about. Anyway, maybe you out there in video land or on the radio land, they're having to have a solution to force these guys to build quick. John Ringo Beam, you always have good ideas. What do you think? Give us some comments and let us know. Okay, so let's go down south to talk about the first debate between Harris and Trump. I had to stop the city council meeting and go over to the debate. I wasn't going to miss it, and I followed up on the city council meeting the next morning. But it's really the first time that we've had two people that have had 4 years of executive service to compare. So we've got Harris's 4 terms as vice president and her policies against Trump's 4 years as president, and the policies he brought to fruition while he was president. So that was an interesting debate because their views on things are already known, and we were going to see if they're going to stand up to them. Both have a record to run on, so we can tell what they're going to do. We know Trump. We know Trump like a book. He has been through everything. Two impeachments, four indictments. Russia, Ukraine, and he's been an open book for 8 years now. Even after he was president, he's been getting indicted and everything else. So his whole term as president was an open book, and his whole life is an open book, and his whole 4 years after president has been an open book. So we know what he's all about. Now, I think when I watched this debate, and this is important, I think both candidates did what they had to do. Harris looked a little pathetic, talking about how she doesn't want to put people down. She wants to bring them up, all the while hammering Trump, calling him a felon, calling him this, calling him that, and everything else, right? And she also really never answered any questions about her flip flopping. She really didn't. She didn't say much about it. She was asked a lot of questions by the friendly media, ABC News, who I think who's president or something is good friends with her. But I think they both did what they had to do. If anybody got the upper hand, I think it was Kamala. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be surprised that I'm saying that because I'm a big Trump guy. But I think that's because the expectations were very low. They thought she was going to get clobbered, and I just don't think she got clobbered. We didn't find anything else about her. Like we didn't find where she stood on stuff because the 4 years ago where she stood on stuff and what she's saying today are two different things. And we never got the questions were not very good to draw that out of the debate. So it was very, very hard to tell exactly where she stood on a lot of these issues, and we still don't know. But the question isn't whether so much who won or who lost. Did both of them achieve their objectives? I think they did, and I'll give the edge in that to Kamala, only because she lied so many times, and Trump ended up having to defend himself against those lies. So he kind of played into her hand rather than just saying, "That's a lie. You've seen my record. You know exactly what I'm for and what I did." Now, Kamala, how come you let 20 million illegals over the border? And you're not stopping it right now as vice president, which you can do. I mean, that's the kind of thing he should have been doing, but he didn't. He's got this character. I would call it sometimes a good part of his character. In this case, it was a bad part of his character. It worked out bad for him because he likes to counterpunch. He doesn't like taking a punch without a counterpunch. And sometimes, even if you're a professional boxer or whatever, you do take that punch and you forget about it and you move on. Goaltenders let in that bad goal and they move on. And so when somebody gives you a punch like that, rather than trying to counterpunch and waste your time trying to counterpunch when there's no, it doesn't matter because people know where you stand. All her lies, people know their lies because they know where Trump stands. He's an open book. So it kind of wasted his time, and that hurt him. All the defending hurt him, and I think he missed many chances to put Kamala in her place. She really, really did, and that was because of that urge to counterpunch. He should have been delivering his own knockout blows rather than trying to counterpunch. Sure, and that really hurt him. I really saw that in him. He was frustrated, having to defend himself all the time, and she did tell a lot of lies, and the moderators were not following up questions with her, so she got away with it unless Trump defended himself, which he did. But it really screwed him up as far as the flow of his debate went and what he could talk about. Although I do, over the course of it, he did check the boxes that he needed to, but they were kind of like random here and there and here and there, and it prevented him from answering some questions himself that he should have been answering rather than defending himself. Now, can you call Kamala a winner? Well, if you judge it just by her getting through the actual debate and kind of throwing Trump off his game, yes. If you look at the polls and that kind of thing, did they move because of it? That's hard to tell. That's hard to tell. It's so close, this race right now. It's very, very hard to tell exactly what's happening. And it's the swing states where people, you don't know what people are going to do that are important. And until, something solid comes out of there saying that it did affect the race, then it's hard to tell. I mean, I think Kamala was a winner just because she got through it and she interrupted Trump's games, threw him off his game, which was huge. So I think you could say Kamala had the better performance. Her points were like every one of her points was canned. Everything she said was canned. I mean, she never did anything ad libbing. It was just practiced and memorized and performed. Um, Anything she said was in that thing, and being a real drama queen about it. I don't think any of her gestures and smirks and everything else played well to the public. I mean, to me, it just felt like she was just like she wasn't a nice person. You just didn't feel she was a nice person. She was just kind of with their facial expressions and that. It was kind of like Justin Trudeau. When he does this kind of smirks and all this stuff, you feel like going up and giving him a slap. That's how a lot of people felt about it. And yeah, that was about it. A lot were turned off by all those things, and she looked arrogant. Watching her reminded me, like I said, of Trudeau. So I think though Trump's closing was one of the closings for sure. Because while Kamala had that goofy, smug look on her face, whining to bring the country together with a vote for lifting people up and not putting them down, Trump asked the question that everybody was waiting for the whole debate. This is what they wanted to hear him say. This is what his debate should have been about. And he said that Kamala, said she's going to do all these great things when she gets to be president. Well, why haven't you done them over the past 4 years? You've had your chance. You were vice president. You didn't do anything that you said you were going to do in this debate. Why not? And by the way, you can still do them now. You can go down to Washington, go to the White House, and you can sign a bill to close the border today. You don't have to wait. What are you waiting for? If you were going to do the things you say you're going to do, you would have done them already. And so that's why you can't be trusted to do them. But he let the Kamala off the hook too many times too during the debate. He won that finale, I think, but the rest of it, he let her off the hook. She told a lot of lies. Here's her biggest ones. She talked about Trump and Project 2025. He had nothing to do with that, and even the guys who wrote it said he had nothing to do with it. But nobody followed her up on that. He had to, right? He had to say, I had nothing to do with it. I don't even know I never read it. But the moderators should have said, well, it's been proven that he had nothing to do with it, and forced her hand on that one. They forced Trump's hand 5 times, by the way, with follow-up questions to what he said. She said that she didn't call for a mandatory gun buyback program. She's a gun owner, and so is Tim Waltz. Well, she did. It's on tape. I mean, she said she was going to ban AR-15s and call for a mandatory gun buyback program. Her third one was her claim about Trump saying there would be a bloodbath if he isn't elected. He never said that. He was talking about the auto industry. If they let China get in, start selling cars in the United States without tariffs, it's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry. So it had nothing to do with what she said. And she said that if he doesn't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. And that's not what he said. The Charlottesville affair, where he backed some white supremacists, this has been debunked for years. It's been debunked, and she keeps repeating it. It never happened, and that's so old and so debunked. It's not even funny. She talked about January 6th and what happened. Once again, it never happened the way she said, and it was Pelosi's doing. She even admitted it. And basically, Trump offered 10,000 National Guards to come in because of the seriousness he thought of the situation it could work out to be. She declined them. She's in charge of Capitol Security. It's not on Trump; it's on her. And Trump asked for a peaceful protest down to the Capitol building, and And for the most part, it was. But there were some rowdies that was blamed on Trump as an insurrection, which is nonsense. He was impeached for it, but nothing came of the impeachment, and I wonder why. And then, of course, another lie by Kamala and backed up by moderator Lindsey Davis regarding late term abortions. And obviously, that was a lie because there have been late term abortions. Wisconsin was being one of the states that had them. So they are being happening right now. And the abortion issue is a really tough one. But I was really surprised that I am really still surprised that she isn't on the side of anti-abortion. She isn't on the other side of that coin because she says she's black, and of course, abortions have turned out to be the demise of the black population in America. Right now, without abortions, if there's no abortions, the blacks would be the majority in the United States. But abortions are prevalent in the black community, and they have killed millions of blacks through abortion. And so it's decimated their population. So I'm surprised she's on that side of it, but she is. It's affected blacks more than anybody. Saying that she will not ban fracking. Well, there's a video of her longstanding uh, longstanding side of the argument that she's going to ban fracking. I will definitely ban fracking. She said it on a video. There's no arguing it. And nobody asked her, like, well, what made you change your mind? Why'd you change your mind now? Because it seems to me she's just doing it for the non-frackers and to get Pennsylvania or something. But she said she was going to. Lied about Trump putting in place about a nationwide abortion ban. That's not. He never said that. He never said that. That's made up, and nobody pushed her on that. Well, Trump had to. Trump was the guy who had to answer all these lies. Lied about Trump implementing a nationwide sales tax. Not going to happen. Never said that. Lied about Trump wanting to ban in vitro fertilization, whereas Trump said that not only was he not going to ban it, he was going to get the government to pay for it because they need more babies in the United States being born. And that's a fact. If the birth rate goes down too much in the world on the whole, the human race will be gone. There has to be a certain number of babies born to replace people dying. Eventually, if you don't have it, the human population goes. And just look at when people go out and hunt certain animals, after a certain number of years, they become extinct. There's just not enough offspring being born to support that animal. And a lot of animals have gone extinct because of overhunting. Buffalo being one of them. I mean, there's billions of buffaloes, and now they're starting to come back because they're protected, but they almost went the way of the dodo. So we have to have a higher birth rate, and in that regard, he's for that. So there were more of them, but they're the ones the big ones, and that none of them were fact checked by the moderators. Basically, Trump was left to defend them by himself, which isn't a bad thing if it was the same for each candidate. But I'm not crying a tear for Trump here because he knew this was going to happen. He knew the ABC moderators were on Kamala's side and they were going to pull stunts like this. So he should have been prepared for it, and he wasn't. So I lay that on him. Nobody else. It wasn't fair, but it doesn't matter because he knew it was going to be like this. So he should have been ready to deal with it. And he wasn't. And he's got to go to the people who prepare him for these debates because they did a terrible job. I think if you see a second debate, it's not going to happen again that way. And basically, I think Kamala's camp called for another debate right away, of course. And I mean, the camp either felt she won and they want another one because it's going to be an easy win the second time, or they lost. They figure they lost it, and that they got to call for a rematch immediately, right? That's the way it happens when a boxer loses. They call for a rematch immediately. So either way, but the winner overall, let me sum this up. I think Kamala took this one not because she was that good, but because Trump was pretty bad. And, I said that about his first performance against Biden. I didn't think he did a really good job against Biden. It's just Biden was so bad, he looked good. I mean, he could have really buried Biden a lot of times. He didn't. I don't know, maybe he felt sorry for the old guy. I don't know why he didn't. And he didn't want to beat a guy down, that's in bad shape. And this time, though, he didn't perform that well, and it cost him. It cost him because, a lot of people are saying Kamala won it. But I really, and also another comment about Trump, I really see a difference of him from today and 8 years ago. He's not as feisty. He doesn't have those one-liners that everybody loved. Like Hillary saying, "We don't want you to be in charge of the law," and he said, "No, because I'd throw you in jail." Like he had these good, but he never really had that. He never really had that. They don't seem to come as fast to him 8 years later. And the old debates were classics. I mean, he really hammered them. He had nicknames for everybody, but this time he never really called her like comrade Kamala, or gave her the nickname of Kamala Chameleon. She's changing her colors with the times. I don't know. He never really did any of that, which I think a lot of people expected. It doesn't seem like he's in the same mode. I don't know. It's because of age. He's aged 8 years, or because he got shot at. Maybe that affected him. I don't know. But he's got to perform better. He's got to perform better. That's all there is to it. And like I say, I'm a big Trump supporter, but I don't think he performed well. I think Kamala did what she had to do and got out of that very easy. She could have been easily destroyed, and he didn't do it. So, yeah, that's my take on it anyway. That's my take on it. That's it. Now, my last thing I'm going to talk about is some common sense from PP, Pierre Poilievre. And he says he wants to cap population growth until Canada can catch up to the huge open door immigration policies of the past. So, in other words, he wants to close down immigration. And I've been saying this for a long time, a 3-year freeze on immigration, only bringing in the people that we need. The immigration of this country has to be stopped, PP says, and he's calling it capped. So, which means he's going to let people in to a certain level, not even close to the levels they're coming in now. And I would make it to only people that we need as in this country to build the country. In other words, we're going to build more homes. We need laborers. We need trades, skilled trades. If we want to deal with long-term care, we need PSWs, and we need registered nurses, that kind of thing. We want to man our hospitals. We need more doctors. So we have to let in the skills that we need, whether it's laborers that we need or whether it's skilled professionals. That's what we have to limit it to. We can't just open the doors to everybody. And it only makes sense in a country where we can't keep up with housing, infrastructure, and other community programs needed to deal with this huge influx of people. I mean, look at our own city. Look around the streets. Who's walking around? Nobody can get a house. Rents are sky high. And it's all supply and demand. We can't build houses fast enough to keep up with the immigration coming into the country and eventually to this area. I mean, Canada really does need a chance to catch its breath. 3 years, we might be able to do it. And Ontario and the region and Niagara Falls needs the same. We just can't keep up. There's a big strain on our health systems, our school systems, and housing. It's way behind the curve of the millions of people they're letting in. And they're talking 1.5 million over the next 3 years. And I think Pierre Poilievre has to stop the diploma mills, those fake schools that are there to really process immigrants rather than teach courses. Student visas are issued with acceptance, and the ones with student visas are able to bring their families here. And we've seen that in Niagara Falls with University of Niagara Falls. And they never leave. Once they get a student visa, they never want to leave. It's a scam that has to be stopped, along with stopping immigration and putting a cap on it. So, yeah, we've got to stop all of this. And I think PP has a great plan for it. And when he gets in, he's going to execute it. And I think it'll really, really help the situation in a lot of different areas. but at least he's aware of it and he's has a solution to it, common sense solution to it, and I like it. I have to find out more about it, but I like the whole idea. My last thing I want to do, we got a 1 minute left, Gary Wilkins. I got a minute left here. I'll give it to you. Congratulations to Cruising on the Q for a successful car show season, culminating with Tuesday's Super Cruise, which was the last event of the season, and phenomenal. I was out there around 1:30, quarter to 2, and the street was already packed. Usually they start at 4. And everybody's wandering around. There's a ton of cars already on the street. Everybody was excited about this huge event. A lot of money was raised for charity. I think they said $1,500 was raised for Heart Niagara through 50-50 draws. And for the actual drivers, the people who brought cars down, there was draws every 30 minutes until about 7:30 at night. A live band was playing, and Grand Center was a big part of the event. Another major sponsor, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, donated prizes and was a big part of the Cruising the Q for the whole summer. Other sponsors were Ronnie Don's Ice Cream, with Ron being one of the main organizers, Heart Niagara, Dow Auto Supplies, Grand Center Niagara, No Till Cocktail, Breakout Escapes, and Pizza and Fry Corner Restaurant. Congrats to all involved. The crew, the volunteers, the sponsors, the Cardinals, City Council who supports the event downtown, of course, all those who walk the streets, amazed at the display of exceptional automobiles and made this a very successful event downtown. What a fantastic ending for the summer and Cruising on the Q. And we thank everybody for doing that. It was a fantastic event. Now, I want to get to my last sponsor, which is Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Now, they just came aboard this week. And I have to say, I went there last night and got a pizza. It was fantastic. It really was. I got a Canadian, and it was very, very good. But they use the finest ingredients at Pete's Pizza. Their crust and their sauce are old Italian recipes from the Mancini family, who owns the franchise. And they use a blend of brick and mozzarella cheese, and that's what I use at home. And there's also some of the beautiful, beautiful cornmeal on the bottom of that pizza, which I love. Mike, the owner of Pete's Pizza Victoria Avenue, has worked in an Italian restaurant for 15 years, so he knows the deal there. They have subs, poutine, panzerotti, weekly specials, and combos. You can't miss with these guys. Now, it's their 40th anniversary of Pete's Pizza being around, and they're having a special till the end of the year, which is 2 medium pizzas with 3 toppings for $25, plus tax, of course. I don't think you can beat that. And that runs to the end of the year. They have extended hours, midnight, open till midnight on Sunday through Thursday, open till 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. So you got to make Victoria Pete's Pizza your late night go-to for snacks. And you just place your order online, 905-374-2222 if you prefer to use the phone, but you can also just place it online at pizzavictoria.ca. Awesome pizza. I had one last night. I'm going to have another one soon. I love pizza, and this is pretty darn good pizza. And I'm pretty picky about pizza, so take my word for it. Anyway, Pete's Pizza Victoria Avenue. Give them a call today. Get down there. And we thank them for being one of our new sponsors. We thank Hamilton Glowstone Lighting, and we thank Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop for sponsoring the show. Without our sponsors, we don't have a show. Support our sponsors. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you, so they know you're listening, and you're getting the hookup from me. We thank you very much. Subscribe to the YouTube video. Hit the announcement button so that you get a ding when I put a new show on, and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. With either way, I don't care. And leave comments. Comments are great because I can talk about them on the show as well. When you leave good comments that I can use. Anyway, take care. My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Your City, Your Voice. Coming to you from the studios of 4680Q live, always live across from the Meteor Crater. Have a great day. It's a beautiful day out there. Enjoy the sun. You know what way this weather's going, and we're going to enjoy this while we can. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Excuse me. Talk to you tomorrow on Finally Friday. Ciao, ciao.